All right, so now we're going on to step 4, how and why to test your story. Every part of this process is very important, but to test your story is very important too, because you want to make sure the idea overall is exciting to people. And if you're going to make changes, now is the time. So, a lot of misconceptions that people have is I like my story. I don't want to change anything about it. I don't want anybody to tell me what to do. I'm just going to publish it as it is. Again, you can totally do that. But if you're looking to like make money and for this book to be successful, you do need to have an open mind to take constructive criticism so that this book can do well. So, how to test your story. There's 2 ways I'm going to talk about right now. You can do small ads if you want to spend some money here. You can do some small ads, or you can ask family and friends or beta readers to give you some feedback on your book and story idea after you've finished your draft. So ads, you can write a book blurb and then you can post it an ad on Facebook or Pinterest or any other social media platform that you're comfortable using and gather the data of who's clicking on these ads. I would suggest doing 2 or 3 ads for your book ideas and how you're wording it and seeing which idea is doing the best. And you can let them click on it and then sign up for like a newsletter or something like that. So you're gathering their email, but then getting those clicks can help you see what are people drawn to. Is this idea going to work? So that's what the purpose of an ad. But this is a great way to test your story, and you can even test if you wanted to. You could test your story before you ever start writing the draft. After you have your outline, you can run an ad then. Totally up to you. If you don't want to do it, you don't have to. There's other ways to just kind of test your story overall. And let's talk about that. So, if you're going to ask your family and friends or beta readers, you can, for novels, you can send them a copy of your draft digitally via a doc or an EPUB, and they can read it and give you feedback that way. Or if you're doing picture books, you can gather your target age group and read the story together in person or via Zoom on the internet, some other way like that. Make sure you just have the parents' approval when you're dealing with minors. Okay, so for novels, if you have a novel and you want to test your story, you're going to make sure during the stage you ask your readers who are the consumer of your genre. Don't ask people like, for instance, I'm writing a historical romance. I'm not going to ask people who don't like to read historical romance to give me feedback because, of course, they're going to hate it. So I need to find people who enjoy this genre and who are also proficient in the language that you're writing in. Make sure they're your target audience. Send them the document as just a doc or an EPUB for them to read and make notes. If you're wondering what an EPUB is, I talk more about that in the self-published program, but you can download an EPUB on Google Docs. I know this for sure because I've used it. And you can send it to your reader and they can download it to their Kindle. So that's pretty awesome. And that's just a natural way for someone to read through your story. Make sure you ask people who will be honest with you and who will give you constructive criticism. Beta readers can be found for free on Goodreads and on social media, or you can hire them on Fiverr if you're wanting to find them there and hire them there. Give them a time frame. So if you're sending your story out, make sure you give them a time frame so they take it seriously and not waste your time. You want to keep up with the momentum of getting your story finished. Make changes between readers' feedback so that you're improving it every single step of the way as you're sending it to reader to reader to reader. I think that's the best way to do it, or you can just send it out to as many people at once and then take all their feedback at once and then make changes that way. Totally up to you. If you're doing picture books, find kids in your community whose parents will let you share your story with them. You can create a dummy, which is just folded pieces of paper with the words on the paper and sketches with your idea of what the pictures will look like, and read the story to them. The kids really don't care about the sketches. They'll enjoy it no matter what. But you want to read it to them, or you ask parents to read the story to them. I think it's more impactful that you read it to them in person because then you can gauge them while you're reading the story to see, are they getting bored at any particular point? Are their eyes kind of wandering? Are they starting to talk? Are they fidgeting? Or are they glued on you? Are they asking questions? Those are good indicators to tell you if they're bored and not interested or if they're really connecting to your story. Take notes while you're doing this. What is their feedback? What are they saying? Do they genuinely seem to like your story? Compare your notes against every reader. Like, you're going to treat this kind of like a big project that you're working on, and you wanted to collect the data and analyze it so you can see what's working, what's not working, and make the changes so your book can be the best version it can be. You're going to repeat this process until you feel like you've done all that you can to get your story into a really good place. So you're going to send your story to a reader. You're going to review their feedback. You're going to make the changes and send to another reader or the same reader if you want to. And you're going to just keep doing this over and over again until, again, that you feel like your story is in a good place. follow the 7-10 rule. The 7-10 rule is if you give your story to 10 people and 7 people say the same thing, then you should probably listen to that advice and make those changes. If every single 10 people say something completely different, then it's up to you whether or not to make those changes. Like if you agree with it, then you should make those changes accordingly. All right, some good indicators that your book is at a good place is the response becomes the same from every reader that you give it to. Nothing new is stated. They are providing a positive response. You feel good about your story, like you feel like you're confident because you're sharing it with qualified readers and editors. You want to make sure that you feel at a good place before you move on to the next step. So those are good indicators that you can use to make sure that your book is ready to go before you go on to the next step. So to test your story, this may take 2 weeks or more. I think if you're doing a novel, it's safe to say give them 2 weeks, depending on the quality of your writing too. Like if there's a lot of errors, it might be harder for someone to get through that, and be flexible if that's the case. But make sure you have a time frame that works for you and your reader, but that you guys hold yourself to that deadline. You do not need to spend any money on the step if you don't want to. And if you're looking for some resources, I have a list of reader questionnaires that you can send to your readers that they can answer to give you some detailed responses and feedback that'll help you in improving your work. So I have one for fiction, I have one for nonfiction, and I have beta reader trackers or organizers that you can also check out. All right, so now we're on to the last step. This is it. We're getting to the very end.